It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas here in the Vegan Runner studio. Welcome back and thank you for watching. Now then, if I'm not running, recovering or eating fantastic vegan food, then there's a good chance I'm reading a book about running. Here's my top 4 favourite books I've read this year. If you're looking for a stocking filler or inspiration to get you going in the new year, look no further. Right, let's get going. Book number 1, The Runner's Expert Guide to Stretching by Paul Hoborough. This is a superb book to add to your collection. Paul Hoborough is a runner and a physiotherapist, which I first came across whilst listening to the free weekly timed Parkrun podcast. He spoke really passionately about running, and he really knows his stuff when it comes to runners' bodies and the types of injuries and strains that most runners are likely to face. Don't be misled by the title of this book. It isn't all about stretching. Actually, the majority of the book is exercises that are strength training related. The idea of this book is for what I like to call prehab, really the conditioning and strength building exercises that we should be doing to manage the stresses and the strains that running puts on our bodies. The issue I faced in the past is knowing where to start. Should I just work on general all over body strength and flexibility? Or maybe I read that a lot of runners' glutes aren't very strong, so I'll do some work on that. Oh, and my calves are feeling a little tight this week, so perhaps I need to work on them, and so on and so on. For me, it was pretty haphazard and not very targeted or consistent. When you go to see any good physio, they should take you through a series of exercises to help you identify weak spots, areas of your body that are imbalanced or need strengthening or loosening up. This book handily guides you through that process, helps you to identify your weak spots, and then gives you well illustrated stretches and exercises to address the issue. It's a great book and definitely one I'd recommend for your stocking this year. I hope you're enjoying the video so far. Just a quick reminder to hit that like and subscribe button so that you never miss one of my weekly videos. Right, on to book number 2, Finding Ultra by Rich Roll. Right, before we get into this book, I need to give a shout out to fellow vegan runner Paul Youd for suggesting looking up this vegan ultra endurance athlete Rich Roll. Thank you, Paul. Finding Ultra is Rich Roll's story of how he completely turned his life around from being an overweight and unfit 40-year-old to becoming an overnight vegan and then eventually being the first ever vegan to finish the top 10 of the legendary Ultraman race. Now, I find this kind of story compelling as someone who has been on a similar kind of get fit journey and finding a love for running and then veganism. It really struck a chord with me. And I'm forever saying to friends and colleagues that it really is never too late to get active and start running and live a lifestyle that's compassionate to yourself, animals and the planet. We just need that initial spark and push, and in Finding Ultra, Rich Roll holds nothing back as we explore his awkward and crushing shyness as a child, his early sporting success as a swimmer, and his later fall into alcohol addiction. Rich has transformed his life through running and veganism. He's a vocal advocate for a plant-based lifestyle and is a shining beacon among the dense fog of myths that surround our diet and its effect on health and well-being. If, like me, you're late to the party and finding out about Rich's inspirational story, Finding Ultra is a great place to start. Rich also produces really fascinating podcasts which I've just begun to listen to, and each one's been great so far and well worth checking out. I'll leave a link to his podcast in the description below. Which reminds me, I'm always on the lookout for my next book to read, so if you have a favourite book that you think I should read or check out, please let me know down in the comments below. Pause this video now and let me know, please. Book number 3, Don't Stop Me Now by Vassos Alexander. Of all the books I've read this year, I keep coming back to this one. Written by popular radio broadcaster and parkrun ambassador Vassos Alexander, Don't Stop Me Now is a novel and interesting take on the telling of a grueling story of Vassos' first Ironman, whilst also intertwining his running journey and eventual love for the sport and parkrun. I really enjoyed how thoughtfully structured the book is. There's a chapter for every mile of the marathon. Each chapter has its own theme that somehow links back to the final part of Vassos' Ironman attempt. Each chapter ends with a short interview of a world-class athlete, and it goes into things like their first sporting memories and why running means so much to them. And for those of you that like running with music, there's a great running song suggested at the top of each chapter. Vassos writes in a very fun, very engaging, feel-good way, and despite his noteworthy achievements in life and in running, he writes in a very humble way, and to me this book personifies what I love about running. It's for anyone. Everyone can do it, and a 5-hour marathon is worth just as much celebration as a sub 2. My favourite chapter focuses on the transformative power of parkrun, something that I and I know many of you out there will have experienced firsthand. I hope Vassos won't mind me reading this short extract, but I'm not ashamed to admit that on first reading this I became quite emotional. For me it succinctly summed up the spirit of parkrun. But then the following morning during our Saturday parkrun, the change in mood is all the more striking. There you'll see mums and dads cheerfully encouraging other people's children, even those overtaking their own. Because a run isn't, and certainly shouldn't be, all about winning. It's about being the best you can be. And at parkrun, people seem to get that. Now, you may have noticed I have borrowed Vassos' words, "be the best you," for this channel. For me, every park runner, everyone who ever musters up the courage to put on their trainers for the first time and head out on their first run, is doing just that, being the best them. And whether it's a 20-minute 5k or an hour and 20 minutes, you're lapping everyone on the sofa and being the best you, and that really is all any of us can ever do. Book number 4, How Bad Do You Want It? By Matt Fitzgerald. Now, strictly speaking, this book isn't solely running related. Other athletic disciplines are explored, from triathlons, Olympic rowing and the Tour de France, but there is plenty in this fascinating book for all of us runners who are interested in the psychology of mind over muscle. Each chapter delves into the mystery and the marvels of the human brain and questions how the way we think can affect our athletic performance. Different psychological ideas are examined in each section of the book, with a real moment, race or training journey from a world-class athlete underpinning the science theory at work. Matt Fitzgerald writes in a really captivating way. You really feel as if you are living the race, feeling the buzz of the crowds, the tensions of a neck-and-neck race with an Olympic gold on the line, or the crushing deflation of an athlete who switches to living a near monastic lifestyle, only to realise cutting out all pleasures in life may not be the best way to reach their sporting peak. It's written in a way that's interesting, enjoyable and relatively easy to access for the sofa psychologists among us. And another small touch that I like but is worth mentioning is the author's use of the feminine pronoun when referring to athletes in general. Most books tend to use he, him or his when not specifically referring to someone or an athlete. So it was refreshing to read a book that addressed this literary bias. Kudos to the author. Altogether, I really enjoyed reading this book. It's packed full of good advice and will have plenty for you to take away into your own training. The title is also a pretty good mantra for those tough moments in training and races. That tough hill, that sub whatever 5k. How bad do you want it? So there you have it, my top 4 reads of the year. I've left a link to all of the books in the description below. Clicking through on those links doesn't cost you anything but helps to support the channel. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and until the next one, be the best you.